The old hospital stood as a monument to forgotten lives, a place where the echoes of the past still whispered in the wind and lingered in the shadows. Over time, it became more than just a building. It became a symbol of grief, loss, and a love that refused to die. The stories of Nurse Evelyn and the haunting of the old hospital grew with each passing year, with new generations coming to the town, seeking a glimpse of what many believed was a tragic legend. The hospital, abandoned for decades, had become a ghostly relic of a time long gone. Its once pristine white walls were now weathered and crumbling, and the grand entrance, which had once welcomed the sick and the needy, had become a hollow, forgotten doorway. Nature had begun to reclaim the land around the building. Vines crawled up the sides of the structure, and the trees around the hospital seemed to whisper with every gust of wind. Yet, despite the decay, the hospital remained standing, as though it were waiting for something, or perhaps someone. Though the hospital was no longer in use, its reputation as a haunted site had spread far and wide. Locals spoke of it in hushed tones, warning newcomers to stay away. Some told tales of shadowy figures glimpsed in the windows. Others spoke of strange sounds drifting from the abandoned halls, the sound of footsteps echoing in empty corridors, or the soft, sorrowful sound of someone crying. Those who lived closest to the hospital often claimed they could hear the faintest whispers on quiet nights, though no one was ever certain what or who was speaking. In the town's public library, old newspapers and articles chronicled the rise and fall of the hospital. Built in the early 1900s, it was initially hailed as a beacon of hope for the local community. It was a state-of-the-art facility, one that brought modern medicine to the town and helped save many lives. But the outbreak of disease in the 1940s changed everything. No one could have anticipated the devastation that was to come. It swept through the town quickly and without mercy. The hospital, even with its best efforts, was overwhelmed. Desperate doctors and nurses worked around the clock to try to save the patients, but the death toll was high. Nurse Evelyn was among the devoted staff, working tirelessly in the face of overwhelming tragedy. She was known for her unwavering dedication to her patients, often going above and beyond the call of duty. Her compassion was legendary, and many patients who had been cared for by her would later recall her kindness with great fondness. But during the outbreak, despite her best efforts, the loss of life was staggering. And then, when the fire broke out in the hospital's basement, the tragedy deepened. The fire started in the lower levels of the building, caused by a malfunctioning furnace. It quickly spread, trapping patients and staff inside. Nurse Evelyn, hearing the cries for help, rushed into the smoke-filled corridors to save those she could. She led many patients to safety, but there was one she could not save, a young boy who had become trapped in a room on the upper floor. Despite her attempts to reach him, the flames consumed her before she could escape. Her body was found amidst the wreckage, still holding onto the boy's hand, a final act of selfless devotion that would forever bind her spirit to the place she had loved so dearly. For years, no one spoke of the incident. It was a tragedy that had left its mark on the town, but had also been quietly swept under the rug. The hospital, once a place of healing, had become a place of death and sorrow. And after the fire, it was shut down. The building, which had once stood as a testament to hope, was now abandoned, a shell of its former self. But that was not the end of the story. There are many who believe that Nurse Evelyn's spirit never truly left. Some say her ghost still roams the hospital's halls, seeking to fulfill the promises she had made in life to care for and protect those in need. Others claim to have seen her apparition, dressed in the same nurse's uniform she had worn in life. Her figure is often seen at the end of long, dimly lit corridors, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes filled with a sorrow that cannot be explained. No one knows for sure what she wants, but many believe that she is searching for the boy she couldn't save, still trapped in that inferno, her failure to protect him forever haunting her spirit. As time passed, the hospital became a place of legend. Locals avoided the grounds, speaking of it in hushed tones, but as with most haunted places, curiosity drew others in. The first to attempt to investigate the old hospital were the thrill seekers, the ones who wanted to see for themselves whether the stories were true. They came in groups, armed with flashlights and cameras, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. What they found, however, was far more than they had bargained for. One group of investigators, a team of paranormal enthusiasts, ventured into the hospital one cold October night, hoping to capture evidence of Nurse Evelyn's spirit. As they moved through the building, the temperature began to drop, and the air grew thick with an oppressive stillness. It wasn't long before they began to hear the faint sound of footsteps echoing through the hallways, even though no one else was around. Some of them swore they saw shadowy figures moving just out of the corner of their eyes. Others felt an overwhelming sense of dread and had to leave before they could continue their investigation. The most compelling evidence, however, came from the audio recordings they took. In one of the abandoned rooms, they captured a voice, faint but unmistakable. It was a woman's voice, and though the words were barely audible, it was clear that it was speaking. "Help me," the voice whispered. And then, in a second recording, "Leave before it's too late." The investigators left the hospital that night, shaken and uncertain about what they had encountered. They had come searching for proof of the supernatural, but they had found something much more personal, much more haunting. The voice they had captured wasn't just a haunting, it was a plea for help, a call from a soul trapped between worlds, unable to move on. Over the years, the ghost of Nurse Evelyn has become a part of the town's history. She is not just a ghost, but a reminder of the past, the lives saved and lost, the love given and unfulfilled. And though the hospital itself may one day crumble to dust, her spirit will continue to linger, bound to the place she loved, protecting the souls that once depended on her care. Even today, there are those who believe that Nurse Evelyn is still watching over the old hospital. They say that if you visit the site on a quiet night, you might feel a presence watching you from the darkness. Some claim to have heard her whispering their name, urging them to leave, to avoid becoming another soul trapped within the hospital's walls. There are also those who say that Nurse Evelyn's spirit has found some measure of peace. Some claim that if you enter the hospital with respect, acknowledging the love and care she gave in life, you might feel her presence in a different way, warm, comforting, and kind. It's as if she no longer feels the need to warn or frighten those who enter. Instead, she simply watches over them, still fulfilling the duty she once took so seriously. So, the next time you find yourself near the old hospital, take a moment to pause and reflect. The building may be crumbling, but the memories of those who once walked its halls and the spirit of Nurse Evelyn will remain. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the story of the ghost of the old hospital is a testament to the love, sacrifice, and duty that transcends even death itself. And if you should hear a faint whisper on the wind, or catch a glimpse of a shadow moving in the hallway, remember, it's not a warning. It's just Nurse Evelyn, still watching, still caring, still fulfilling her duty to the very end. If you've been moved by the haunting tale of Nurse Evelyn, remember that some spirits never truly leave the places they love. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss our next chilling episode. Share your thoughts below. Do you believe in the spirit of Nurse Evelyn, still watching over the old hospital? We'd love to hear your experiences or thoughts on the supernatural. Safe, and always be cautious when wandering into the unknown. Until next time, remember, some stories linger long after the last page is turned, and some spirits never let go.